Our society nowadays is disconnected. The Japanese expression無緣社会, which literally means no relationship society, was first introduced in 2009 by a Japanese television center. It has been used as a broad term for different emergent forms of social isolation, which has been a grave concern in Japan. With modern agriculture and mechanized farming, the young population moves to the urban areas for work and subsequently forms new households there. Job opportunities that require resettlement make workers to be separated from their families, turning into nuclear families or even individuals who live alone. 47% of the population in Tokyo lived in single households in 2018. On the one hand, elderly people are left in the rural areas. On the other hand, the working population in the urban areas also experiences loneliness due to the distant relationship between families and surrounding communities. Different factors cause the disappearance of ties within families and communities, such as a lack of communication due to long working hours, misunderstanding due to distant relationships, and divergence in principle of life or lifestyle. People are socially isolated with family members, friends, or neighbors who can form supportive networks for them.
無緣社会 then gave rise to a new phenomenon that became problems for the Japanese government. One example was KORITSU-SHI, in which people died unnoticed with their bodies undiscovered for days or weeks or even longer, and no known family or acquaintances to claim the remains, take care of the personal effects or handle the funeral. This connection leads to loneliness, which is associated with a high suicide rate and the emergence of HIKIKOMORI among young Japanese. Apart from the disconnection between people are also less connected to nature. While people from the countryside used to grow their own food and build the houses they live in, people living in cities where a lot of housing was built in the last decades do not have any connection to the materials of which their flats are made anymore. Residents develop sick building syndromes, living in newly built dwellings which are built with chemical contaminants such as volatile organic compounds.
What is the solution to these problems? The Eco-Temple Community Project in Japan, under our study, tries to give a holistic solution to these urban problems. Our major research questions are: what role can places like eco-temples play in tackling social isolation and sustainable urban development? And what can Western cities learn from the concept of eco-temples?
The eco-temple under our study is the Juku-in Temple in Tokyo. This project was initiated by Reverend Okushi, the abbot of the temple. His family owned the land of this temple for generations. As a socially engaged Buddhist, Okushi-san advocates a bottom-up approach where every citizen can do something for their own happiness and well-being. He put this idea into practice, wishing to transform his neighborhood, starting from his own temple. From the social perspective, with the eco-temple as the center, Okushi-san wishes to nurture a temple community based on trusting relationships and self-reliance by supporting and hosting NGOs and the Edogawa Lifestyle Network, which are the local citizens groups. These NGOs include support groups focusing on the rights of children and indigenous people and issues related to alternative energy, environment, culture, and for example a local credit union. The temple provides a space for people with similar concerns on local issues in the neighborhood to gather and further connect them to people with similar concerns in other parts of the world towards building a global community. The temple attempts to rebuild the ties in the community based on the common concern or values people share. The community-centered idea is reflected in the reconstruction of the temple in 1999. The use of Japanese tatami mats was abandoned to make it easier to create different community activities and events. From the environmental perspective, the unconventional exterior of the temple represents its difference from traditional temples. The reconstruction introduced ecological features and installation of 30 solar panels to the temple, Sunlight and air circulations are maximized to better adjust room temperature in order to lower heating and cooling costs. Solar panels are installed to demonstrate to local households how they can develop sustainable electrical independence.
The philosophy of the eco-temples extends to other temple-owned buildings. One of them is redeveloped into a care home for elderly and people with special needs with chemical-free materials. Unlike other care homes, which are located far from the neighborhood, this one is close to the residents' former homes, so families can often come visit in order to alleviate the loneliness or isolation elderly people are experiencing. Okochi-san's temple is creative in transforming traditional concepts or ideas into new uses and functions. Before his temple, no one imagined a temple could expand its function beyond religious purposes to support non-religious community activities and NGOs. He takes an old concept of a temple and reimagines it to be more approachable and open space for encounters. Instead of waiting for the central authorities for a top-down solution, Okochi-san advocates a bottom-up approach and demonstrates how to start making changes from an individual level. He listens to the locals' problems and also their ideas, and then supports them to realize them. Through his eco-temple, he spreads the message to the community that everyone can take small initiatives to make improvements.
There are other eco-temples in the world. The one we would like to benchmark with is the Smart Pagoda in Chuburi, Thailand. Unlike Jukurin Temple, it is located in a rural area in the middle of agricultural fields. For our second, the Buddhist monk gives lectures to local farmers about a self-sufficient economy so they could plant trees for their own daily food, household products, and house building. They also teach young children practical skills of how to make use of their natural resources to make a living and to live a sustainable life. Beyond the importance of physical location, the Smart Pagoda serves as a symbol to promote ecological values, a self-sufficiency lifestyle, and spirituality. Creating a sufficient economic community can also generate opportunities in rural areas so that the young generation do not need to leave for jobs. In both eco-temples, they demonstrated a new, sustainable way of lifestyle in solving local issues. Yet, they also have a number of differences. In Thailand, monks are more influential and hence it is easier to gain support from celebrities or political leaders, while in Japan, the project is purely a local initiative. In Japan, households can install solar panels on rooftops and extra electricity generated can be sold to utility companies, while in Thailand, installation of solar panels by households is not allowed. Finally, the temple in Thailand developed into a wider network of actors, with the building itself as a physical node, while the Jukurin temple maintains a local outreach with a strong emphasis on solving local urban challenges.
To conclude, eco-temples are not a cookie-cutter solution to social challenges. The idea is simple, but a good execution requires a tailor-made solution with in-depth understanding of the challenges, culture, history, and people of a society. It cannot be fully replicated in Western communities, as the core idea of helping oneself is a Buddhist teaching. Western communities can instead be inspired by eco-temples' bottom-up approach, self-sufficiency, simple lifestyle, and caring for each other in the society. Instead of following top-down policy from international organizations or the national government, religious groups can also think of adaptive ways to use religious space for community building and support local initiatives to solve urban challenges. Eco-temple is a promising concept and demonstration of how we can reimagine the function of a religious space and how ties within a community can be strengthened by empowering local people to address and tackle urban challenges together.